Week 8 of the 10th season of the GBA is finally here, and Playmore is taking on the top team in the league, the Bullet Punch Club. This is an exciting game, one that I've been waiting for with anticipation, as we've soared to the top of the standings, and one team has stayed up there the whole time. But last week was a tough one, Tyler. I had to remove the tie, do something to hopefully change things here after we had a loss. It's not as big as what Ben has done in the past, but I'm hopeful that maybe the small action will pay big dividends.
The tie is gone, but the bow tie is back. And today, the gloves come off because we are going to have to pack a punch against the Bullet Punch Club, John, because on the other side, we are looking at not just one, but a few of the biggest threats in competitive Pokemon right now.
You're not wrong, Tyler, and for that reason, I want to hear what Coach Ben is bringing against him.
We do. Yeah, if we make that play, and then we make the hard read there, that should put us in a scenario to where we... Oh, hey, you want Team Builder? I was just going over the plays of the game real quick. But yeah, let's dive into the team. First off, we're returning with Sun with a nice defensive Torkoal to help versus Uzi's scary Meowscarada. We have Stealth Rock, Lava Plume, Solar Beam, and Rapid Spin. This is overall a very basic set, but Sun is very good against Uzi's team, mainly to help weaken that terrifying Azu and help support our Heatran and Roaring Moon on this squad. Next, we have our Heatran that I just mentioned, very special defensive, and we are rocking the Air Balloon. With the Air Balloon, we hard wall Clodsire with its stabs, Toxic, all of that annoying stuff, so he has to be running some random coverage in order to pop our balloon. And we have Protect, Magma Storm, Earth Power, and Taunt. That way we can trap something with Magma Storm, Protect to get that extra chip, Taunt to make sure they can't recover, and then Earth Power is just good overall chip for the rest of his team, or to chip down that thing that is trapped in Magma Storm, so we don't have to risk hitting another 75% accurate move. And next, we have a very annoying Mismagius set with Shadow Ball, Mystical Fire, Taunt, and Will-O-Wisp. We're holding the leftovers with a fair amount of defense and special attack investment. Mainly, Ghost plus Will-O-Wisp is just free against his entire team. Mystical Fire just allows us to weaken the potential Shadow Ball from the Golden Go, as we won't kill it in one shot, and then we can kill it the following turn. Next, we have our Kilowattrel, some of the elite speed for this week, but we're actually more than likely not outspeeding their Meowscarada, so we can have a lot of physical defense investment. This is in order to deal with the Galarian Zapdos the best we can. Galar Zapdos is almost impossible to switch into, but Kilowattrel will try its best. With Thunderbolt, Air Slash, U-Turn, and Roost, just a very good pivot versus his team. Potentially clean up in the late game, but with his very high priorities, such as Extreme Speed with normal Tera Dragonite, and Lycanroc Dusk with the Cellarrock, it's going to be very difficult. And then we have a fully Fizz-Def Sandaconda this week with the Rocky Helmet, just to really abuse his heavy physical attackers. Glare, Earthquake, Body Press, and Rest. Ideally, this thing can actually win in the late game if we're able to deal with any of his heavily annoying special attackers such as Golden Go, while also checking Meowscarada and things of that sort. And then lastly, we have a very interesting Roaring Moon set this week with the booster energy, and we're very defensive with max attack as well. This is in order for us to trap the likes of a defensive Azumarill or Avalugg and be able to Dragon Dance against it. Now, we can only set up versus Avalugg if it has Avalanche. If it has Ice Spinner, we're just kind of screwed, because unfortunately, with Tera Flying, Roost does not remove your flying typing. You stay flying throughout the entire time. We need +2 speed in order to outspeed a Choice Scarf Meowscarada, but in general, Acrobatics after the booster energy in the Tera does so much damage. Very strong chance to win, as our opponent has never brought in Avalugg yet.
Thank you, Ben, for breaking down the team, but Tyler, where is the coach? I see the opponent's team. I don't see our coach. This is a first. I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. This is a serious man. I feel real good about this game, Tyler.
I feel so much better than I did 3 minutes ago.
Wow, that was electric.
And I don't know if it makes Ben feel better or worse, but John, I'm super interested to hear your opinion on this. With what has been maybe the biggest threat overall in the GBA so far this season, Meowscarada, however it's pronounced, the cat is not here for our opponent.
It's really, really interesting to see. Now, it's obvious Avalugg is here because of Roaring Moon. Like, that is why that is here. 1 billion%. It's shocking not to see Meowscarada instead of any of the other Pokemon, but Dragonite is terrifying with that Tera normal. We know Azumarill incredible against our team. Galarian Zapdos is really good against the team. Clodsire could try to get a lot of hazards up, and that thing's going to be really helpful, especially against a Kilowattrel. And then Goldango is a really fantastic Pokemon. So hat off to Uzi. He just drafted a phenomenal team where the best Pokemon in the league so far cannot be brought, and I don't really feel better about the matchup. That's why I didn't say anything about it. I was so focused on our coach and everything happening there, which was instilling some confidence in me. But here we do see the Clodsire lead, and honestly, this is exactly what I expected from the opponent. This thing can set up a lot of hazards. We got our turtle that can rapid spin the hazards if we want, but that is an immediate switch into Heatran. And Tyler, if I am correct, we're ready to trap in Clodsire, hang out with our balloon, a little bit of an up reference there, and cause some havoc early on.
I am very fascinated to quickly go back to Avalugg. I'm looking at the stats so far this season.
Yeah.
And if they are correct, this is the first time Uzi's brought Avalugg to a match this season. So
I hate that.
even seeing the roster, that's such a tough thing to try and game plan for.
Yeah, it's really frustrating to see something like that where, before this week, you could say that was kind of a bad draft pick. In theory, it works. I don't want that in theory to be our game. This is a really important game for us. I think we might be 1 win away from clinching a spot in the playoffs. And if we could beat the top team in the league, that would go a very long ways. The fact that they have a secret weapon, which is a table made of ice, ready to take on our best Pokemon, very infuriating. The Stealth Rocks were very obvious there. I knew that thing would be its hazards. But I was hoping it would stay in and go for an Earthquake so we could try to trap it in. We're not going to have a lot of easy plays, Tyler. We're playing the top team in the league, but that's some big damage. Wow.
That did a ton.
I didn't expect that at all. It is in the sun, so maybe I was just underestimating Heatran here. But now with the Protect, unless Big E wants to go for the boldest belly drum of all time, pretty fantastic start outside of the Stealth Rocks.
Well, one thing that we've talked about, I know we talked about it during the draft in particular, Heatran is thought more of as a defensive Pokemon, but it's got 130 base special attack. So this thing can hit, and in the sun, it does pack a punch.
Heatran is a Pokemon that is very interesting in draft. I never really loved using it. Ben hasn't brought it to a lot of battles, but some people find an unreal success with this being like the perfect glue Pokemon. It's more defensive than you'd expect. It's more offensive than you would expect. It doesn't have the best move pool, but it has a little bit of everything you really need and want. This is a Pokemon that can really, really mess up the opponent's team with this move if we're given the opportunity to do that. Now, I'm kind of surprised to see the Aqua Jet here, as in the sun. Sure, it's going to do a lot of damage, but I mean, okay, that's why right there. That's the Citrus Berry, which makes me think this could have been Belly Drum Azumarill. Maybe we messed up some plans. I don't know. It is a little interesting in general. Could just be, hey, little recovery to help Azumarill last a bit longer. Without that, I would have said maybe we stay in and go for, a Flash Cannon or an Earth Power, whatever one we think would do a little more. We don't have the Flash Cannon. I was hopeful. But I think he got a switch here.
It's tough because I think there is an argument to stay in. I'm in agreement that this is probably Belly Drum Azumarill. And you're in a spot where the aggressive play is to stay in knowing the threat that Azumarill is. Because it's going to cost you a lot of damage on Heatran. But you can win this 1v1. So it just depends on how aggressive Ben wants to be here.
Yeah, I think this is the correct play. I'm actually really interested in what's going on here. I think what we're seeing is how good the air balloon really was prep-wise. I think Uzi valued getting rid of that air balloon above anything else, as we should be able to do with Clodsire every single time with this Heatran as long as that balloon is up. Maybe that gives us some information we needed to know where that Clodsire may only have a ground move or just doesn't have, maybe it's ground and poison, doesn't have anything to hit the Heatran. So even though this Azumarill can't do too much damage to us with the Aqua Jet, it's staying in just to make sure it gets rid of that balloon. Here's the Liquidation. We'll obviously do more, but that's a dead Azumarill right there.
It is. I think my one qualm would be not protecting there one more time and ensuring that Earth Power killed. So if it wanted to do any damage, it had to go for Aqua Jet instead, just to save a decent chunk more HP on the Heatran. But I understand the play of just wanting to get rid of it. And the most important thing is that the Azumarill's gone. Just maybe could have saved a bit more HP.
I think it was, I don't know the calcs, but it really comes down to the sun, right? Because the sun just went away. Maybe Aqua Jet at that point is doing pretty much as Liquidation would do with the sun. Like, I don't know exactly how those calcs work, but early on, I mean, against a really scary matchup, one of the scarier Pokemon off the field entirely, and we really just lost our balloon? I mean, it was a sad start to a movie, but it wasn't like when the balloons were gone, everything went horribly, right? You know, like there was a nice story by the end of it. Maybe we're on that trajectory.
I'm kind of sad that we're now down to one flying frog on the team and not two.
Yes.
I think that would be the only issue that I have.
No, that's a good point. Yeah.
Otherwise, not the worst start.
Yeah.
And now a really fun matchup with a Goldango that we've talked about even before we got into the battle, of how much value it has with the prevention of status moves on this thing. I wonder if you just click an attack here and try to work towards, again, just another Pokemon you probably want to get rid of as quick as possible.
Yeah, this is a really interesting one. Now, I have never faced a Goldango in singles. I have a lot of experience to bring to this broadcast booth, but when it comes to Gen 9 specifically, hey, we have a better coach than I on the field learning these lessons for me. I don't know what coverage move this Goldango could have that would allow it to take out our Heatran. You know, Heatran, this is a max specially defensive Heatran. We have two super effective moves, and they immediately switch. I don't understand anything that just happened there, but we are going to get super effective damage on this.
Wasn't a lot of super effective damage, but it's good damage. We'll take it.
No, it is good damage, and it allows us to get a switch in this Mismagius, which should be able to taunt, you know, get some Will-O-Wisps around. Obviously, we can't get any status on Goldango if it wants to come back in, but I do like this. Really, really, really good prediction, you know, predicting the Torkoal. I think Uzi at this point is probably expecting us to be heavy-duty boots on the Torkoal, which we are. So we brought Mismagius in at the perfect time. I'm very intrigued by the beginning of this battle from our opponent. You know, there definitely was a rhyme and a reason for losing that Azumarill to get rid of the, you know, air balloon, right? They're playing for their outs at the end of the game, but right now I think we're really in the driver's seat. Really easy taunts here, and I don't know. I don't know what the opponent wants to bring in to try to punish the Mismagius, but I really, really like this.
Yeah, I love the start. I'm with you. I think the only thing to take away from it, and I go back to Heatran again, we don't know how it would have played out. Maybe be a little bit more damage there than you would have liked. But depending on what the switch is, not a terrible start so far.
I can't tell.
Honestly, one of our better
reaction.
starts. I mean, we have had wins with much worse starts than this, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was really looking at the coach with the switch, and I can't tell if he was happy or upset with the switch. If he had gone for Will-O-Wisp on this thing, I would be jumping up for joy. Maybe I'd be running to go grab the tie that I'm missing. Like, things are going well. We're ready to go. I guess, yeah, we can't really stay in. It'd be cool to stay in and try to get a Will-O-Wisp off, but I mean, Mismagius, even with its defense investment, is not really excited to take on the The Zapdos, am I missing something with like abilities? No, I don't think so. Yeah, it's Defiant, so you can Will-O-Wisp it. I mean, could have been a good play there. The switch does make a lot of sense. I know this is a really threatening Pokemon for the opponent. Now, it does have a really cool move that I love seeing where we get to lose our defense stat and it gets to keep kicking us right in the face.
I'm very interested by the switch to Heatran here. I guess it's a pure sack there.
It's, yeah, so
I would have thought we would have seen Kilowattrel, but you can probably explain better than I know why that wasn't the move in that spot.
Yeah, I can, unfortunately. In draft, sometimes you don't have anything for opposing Pokemon. When you look at our roster, we just do not have a switch in for what may just be a Choice Banded Brave Bird. We have Heatran, we have Kilowattrel, that's max defensive. You know, we kind of have...
We've got a defensive Kilowattrel.
Yeah, I mean, we have these Pokemon, but they're just not going to be able to take those hits. So at some point, you have to understand when a Pokemon's usefulness is done. Everything else is at full health. It's nice to be able to bring in a Pokemon like Kilowattrel instead of having to have it take the Brave Bird. Like, this thing does have a competitive, so if, you know, the opponent is not locked in and goes for that fighting move, it will make this thing even stronger. But we should be able to roost up any damage if they, you know, do go for another attack. Considering they're almost definitely going to switch, we now get to U-turn. Obviously, you can only sacrifice Heatran one time, but with how good our opponent drafted, there are just going to be a few situations like that in this game where you have to just decide, hey, this Pokemon, as much as I'd love to have it around, it doesn't have that air balloon. It's used up a lot of its usefulness. It got rid of a Pokemon. I think it's time to switch. And something that I think, you know, I missed earlier, I think you missed it as well. Heatran does have Flame Body. If that had turned into a burn, would have been the best possible sacrifice. But I still like the play.
Yeah, I think the opponent might have been thinking that the Kilowattrel switch was coming, and that's why we did not see that move that you talked about, Thunderous Kick. That would have been super effective against Heatran. Yep. Lowers defense on whatever it hits, and it knows that Kilowattrel, you lower its defense, it's going to flip it on you with the special attack boost that it gets. So I think they might have anticipated that. So ultimately, maybe it was the right play to just go ahead and go with Heatran there.
Well, and the unfortunate thing is with that Galarian Zapdos, the opponent doesn't have to use their brain. They can just click the Brave Bird move. Because obviously
that's my kind of Pokemon right there.
Right, Mismagius is in, so on the off chance it stays in, you don't want to go for the fighting move. Click Brave Bird, it kills Mismagius, or almost kills it. Brings in Heatran, kills Heatran. Brings in Kilowattrel, might two-shot the Kilowattrel. I mean, there's nothing we could bring in where that was not the right play, and that puts us in a tough spot. Now, Ben is clearly deciding between, you know, like, do we Will-O-Wisp, or is Goldango coming in? Or are they going for Hazard? And
well, there's like also, I think Clodsire also has Toxic.
Yeah. I do like the prediction. Damn, that's tough. It's really, really tough. This is one of those moments that could really determine this battle where, you know, taunt here is so easy, then allows that next play to be an easier prediction for us. This was a really tough play for Ben to really figure out. Obviously, you Will-O-Wisp, they go into Goldango. Not a great spot. You go for taunt, Goldango's just going for an offensive move, or like if they go into like Zapdos. Like it's just a tough one to see, you know? Sometimes people say 50-50s. We were deciding between 3 moves, right? There's a lot of things that could have happened there, and this may need to be a near perfect game from our coach to really get the win we want, as now we see that Galarian Zapdos, and that could absolutely result in another kill. You know, messing up with the last turn with that, you know, the taunt just not getting rid of that Toxic. Now Mismagius can't stay in as easily against that Pokemon, and I think Galarian Zapdos may be getting another kill early on.
Yeah, and Mismagius is hugely important in this match because of all the status conditions they can throw out because of the taunt. So if you are Ben, this feels like going from what was a pretty good start to maybe worst case scenario over the course of 5 turns. Uzi's been able to flip this thing.
Yeah, I would agree. I'd agree with you. I don't think it's worst case scenario, as we did get rid of the Heatran. There have been some nice...
we got rid of the Azumarill.
Well, yeah, the Azumarill
That one.
was gotten rid of with the Heatran. The Heatran got rid of it, and then Heatran kicked the bucket. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, fairly, we were probably mostly responsible for getting rid of Heatran, too.
Hey, man, we don't have a Pokemon on our team for Galarian Zapdos, and sometimes that happens with Draft League. A lot of people in the comments have asked us to help explain Draft League, and, you know, for anyone confused, you know, you only have 11 Pokemon for the season. You draft those, and you want to have 11 Pokemon that can ideally deal with all the other teams in the league. There's always going to be a little blind spot here. You asked earlier, man, like, you know, why aren't we seeing Meowscarada? What's going on there? Sometimes you don't need your best Pokemon when another Pokemon can kind of take that spot. You know, this Pokemon's got 100 speed. We really don't have much of a switch. It's very, very scary. And unfortunately, as we weren't able to get any burns there from either Flame Body or a Will-O-Wisp prediction, the next best thing we can do is go for that Lava Plume in the sun, knowing we can live any hit and hopefully scoring the burn on this. There's not a lot of Pokemon on his team that want to switch into this Lava Plume. So, hey, if you're going to lose a Pokemon like Mixmagius, hopefully you can get yourself into a position like this to hopefully recapture a little momentum. Or maybe this thing stays in and you can score that burn and really get rid of this big threat. But I do like this. This is a nice step in the right direction. They do switch outs.
I am starting to wonder, especially because of that outspeed on the Mismagius, which did have a decent speed investment and is a little bit naturally faster than Galarian Zapdos, if it's Scarfed, making it pretty by default the fastest Pokemon left in this match.
It is difficult to say. I don't know those speed tiers off the top of my head. I'm not entirely sure. I don't think that's guaranteed. But there is a really good chance that could be the case. Now, this Clodsire has been a thorn in our side, and exactly why Uzi was fine, you know, 1v1ing that Heatran with the Azumarill. Now that balloon is gone and the Magma Toad is deceased, this thing becomes an issue. We will see a recover here. And, you know, that's an unfortunate play with the Mismagius looms large. And it's interesting. I wouldn't call that a misplay. I just think, you know, like, hey, a lot of different things that could happen. I think the opponent made a good prediction. You got your prediction wrong. And unfortunately, when you go against the best, like, that's going to happen. How do we capitalize on a similar situation where they make that prediction and you just get one thing over on them and hopefully get a little bit more momentum? Now, as they will recover, there it is. We need to try to gain a little bit of momentum on our side. And I think that starts with a Glare, right? I mean, they could bring in Goldango, but that doesn't want to take a ground move.
The fear could be the Goldango switch, because as quickly as your mind went to Glare being the obvious play, we know Uzi's a very good player. There's a reason it's not just him having great Pokemon that he's top of the league. He is a great battler. I wonder if his mind is the exact same way of seeing the Glare being the super obvious play to try to get some momentum and makes that Goldango switch. I wonder, we see a hard read for Ben. I really want to see if this pays off.
You know, hey, you got to make those plays when you're down the number. So I'd love to see it. I do not know these nicknames at all.
That's my code.
There it is. There it is. Yeah, and that's a really good call on your part. You know, it is interesting to see that, you know, like, I think Ben got caught earlier trying to make the aggressive play. He is showing in this battle that he's willing to make those aggressive plays. And I think earlier on Uzi was able to, you know, like, adjust to that and make the right play. But there, you know, hey, he's up in the numbers, made a safer read there, and I really, really love that for us. Goldango's a frustrating Pokemon, and once that's gone, we can Glare everything. And that could be pretty fantastic. So at this point, being able to bring in the Kilowattrel, I do like with the speed and being able to get some good damage on a lot of Pokemon, but I guess I'm not sure what the prediction is here. Is it just like that annoying steel move? That, like, the Steel Draco Meteor, perhaps? No, the Shadow Ball.
Shadow Ball.
Okay. And that does all of the damage in the world. Interesting.
Does a lot.
Now,
They have to give the Pokemon with the incredible new ability and the incredible new moves. They also gave it incredible special attack.
Yeah, now I assume that was one of those plays where it's just kind of like actually exactly like the Galarian Zapdos. We only have so many switch-ins.
Yeah.
And here we have Roost on Kilowattrel, we have Heavy Duty Boots. This thing, it's not gone. I'm pretty sure it's the fastest thing on either side. The only thing that's going to outspeed and take this thing out is going to be priority, which I think at this point is only the Dragonite. So I do really like this play. If something has to take a crazy big hit, this is the Pokemon to do it. But this turn is unbelievably important in my mind. I don't think Uzi stays in, but if you U-turn and he stays in, this was a really, really horrendous play for us. It was Scarfed.
What was that roll?
Wow.
Whatever.
The coach is shocked by that.
Yeah, if that and again, we still don't know about the Zapdos.
Doing it.
That's we know Goldango for sure. That's potentially 2 Scarfed Pokemon.
Yeah, the really interesting thing there, I'm pretty sure it was seeing that is going to be the one Scarfer on the team. I feel confident there. And it gives us a really interesting point to Dragon Dance or trap something in. This is where the matchup really turns into our favor. Now, we don't have many other Pokemon to sacrifice. We've run out of Pokemon very quickly, but this is our MVP. It's our best Pokemon. I really love the set this week. And if we can trap the right Pokemon in, we could be ready to rumble, dare I say.
I do think they probably go to Avalugg here. And getting it trapped in may not be 100% ideal. It's a super defensive Pokemon. It can hit pretty hard. But depending on the first move that it uses... Oh, a big crit there. Depending on what this first move is,
you and me,
I want to see how aggressive Ben gets here.
Well, in this new era, there's not Toxic on every single Pokemon. We are max defensive. So there is a chance we set up on the table and turntable they turn. So this, I mean, this
I wondered how aggressive Ben would get. He said all the way.
Well, if we keep playing Uzi's game, we lose 10 out of 10 times. Ben, like, he talked about it in the press conference, right? You gotta play, to your win con. I remember my first season in Draft League, every single game, I would do every calc for my Terrakion versus the opponent. Whether I was Scarfed or Banded, and almost every week I was one of the two, I knew how that thing won at the end of the game. It doesn't matter if you take out all 5 of my other Pokemon and you have 6 remaining. If I can outspeed you with that Scarf Terrakion and I take out your other stuff because I've chipped you down, that's all I need. So similarly, with this Roaring Moon, if it can set up fully to that +6 or +4, whatever it needs to be, we may be able to win the game here. He knew with that set that Body Press is the most likely thing we would see from that Avalugg. And sure, that thing can absolutely go for recover. But this could be the opening we needed. Because past this, what do we got left? Sandaconda? Torkoal? This is how we win. Right here, right now.
Well, and unfortunately, not Shell Smashing Torkoal.
You're running Crash?
Interesting.
Come on, man.
Icicle Crash and the Body Press. Our coach is furious. He is furious.
You run the one that misses?
I really think we gotta listen in and hear what he's saying. That is an angry man.
You're running Crash? Come on, man. Why would you run Crash? You have Ice Spinner and Avalanche, and you run the one that misses?
And unfortunately here, even if we can take this thing out, Extreme Speed is going to take out our Roaring Moon. Man, that was devastating. I really loved the set. I really loved the prep. You know, they'd never brought Avalugg before. They bring it, they go for the body press. As Ben predicts, that goes into the Tera flying because obviously body press would be super effective against the Roaring Moon if it doesn't have the flying. Everything was ready for the win. The win was guaranteed. Tyler is guaranteed if that Icicle Crash was not brought. Really good prep on our opponent's side. I hate seeing it. I sound kind of positive, kind of happy. I am broken on the inside. I am unbuttoning this suit. I'm not taking it off yet, but I'm sad because here's the extreme speed. Well, wait a minute. Tyler, I used to be famous around these parts, and these parts I mean my home. For
the swamp.
Well, no, not the swamp. I'm talking about like my home with my fiance, like in the actual home.
Your physical home. Yeah,
my physical home. Yeah.
Far from the swamp.
Exactly. Where I would go into a draft league battle, and I can be a negative Nancy to myself. Maybe I need to work on that, be a little bit more positive. But I'd get into a situation like this, and you just hear, "Damn it, I lost, I suck," like do. And then I'd leave 20 minutes later. Yeah, I won 4-0. And you know what? Sometimes you can get into that spot. You can look frustrated. Yeah, you're completely defeated. Your plans are they're amok. You know, they're gone. But then you kind of look around. Maybe you just need a misplay. Maybe you just need one thing to go your way, and you can get back into it. Roaring Moon still has Roost. Roaring Moon still should outspeed a few things on the team. And this Pokemon right here, LA Knight, which
our guy.
I told you. Hey, you and Uzi, two wrestling fans. I still don't know who that man is, but that's okay.
He says, yeah, and it's awesome.
Yeah, he does. We just need this thing gone. And all of a sudden there's no priority to take us out. So there's still a chance. Where there's a will, there's a way. I'm not giving up yet. I've done that many times in the past and come back and won. So you know what? Ben looks like there's a little bit of life. He has not given up. He's still in it. I like that play. I don't know if we live another extreme speed, but it could be a roll.
Yeah, with Sandaconda, you might not think it like just off the back of your head, but it's got 125 base defense, and this is a defensive build. I think we just ran out of time there.
And then there's the switch. Is that a switch into a glare, maybe? Oh my God! There's a switch into a glare.
Play, man. Good job, coach.
That's all you need. You can't give up. Your plans may go south, but it's why you prep 6 Pokemon. You know,
you might not even click a move.
Yeah, you know, there is a lot of things that can happen in a draft league battle, but that is what you love to see. This rest is going to be absolutely huge. We need some help from the para, but I really, really like this. Now, something we haven't talked about with this battle is this is the top team in the league. Ben's talked about, hey, I expect to see this coach in the playoffs. And you know what? This is a really exciting place to be, Tyler. Before that turn, didn't feel like we had any chance to win this battle. All of a sudden, we have some life. And I think from this, we have learned a lot about the opponent for a possible rematch. So if we can get away with this battle, having that information, helping us with our next build if we do get a rematch in the playoffs, and possibly get a win that guarantees that, I mean, it is the best case scenario. I think the best thing that could happen to us against Uzi is almost losing so we get the maximum amount of information. We just need to bring this home. And a lot of that's going to come down to Crocodile waking up pretty quick.
Yeah, we need some shed skin luck. And we need it bad. But I'm with you in terms of just Ben's ability to draw this thing out as much as we can and gather as much knowledge about Uzi's team as we can.
Yeah.
Because if these two teams do face in the playoff, we're not going to see the exact same two teams. We're going to see some different twists thrown in by both sides.
Yeah.
But having as much knowledge as possible, never a bad thing.
It's really, really interesting right now. I mean, I think about this battle, and as you said, Avalugg's been brought to one battle and one battle only, and it spoiled our plans. It's a really, really interesting thing to have a Pokemon that so far this season was drafted just to ruin my day. I feel like that's mean, and I honestly think I deserve an apology. It doesn't have to be heartfelt. It just feels mean. It felt a little unnecessary. But if Coach Ben can, if he can, hey, he can pull this out of his bag of tricks and get us that win, you know, I guess I don't need no apology. But right now, I don't know how I feel about that.
I know what we need. It's for Crocodile to wake up. There we go. He
Right
heard
there.
me. He knew. He knew.
Okay, now this is a really, really interesting spot. Now, I feel like Uzi is fine to let the Zapdos go down here. You just gotta win. Don't be one of those fancy dancy coaches trying to get the extra points. You gotta just get the win at this point. And I mean, anything else getting glared could be quite an issue. But we don't really have much of a chance to take this thing out. It would be kind of crazy if we made some like wild predictions and we're like, wow, this thing's gonna get paralyzed 4 times in a row.
Yes.
But we may just be in a not fun place of having to rest and the Rocky Helmet and the rest and the Rocky Helmet. But maybe we should have done the 4 paralyzed play.
Yeah. Honestly, it's a weird thing where I don't know if the Zapdos getting paralyzed has been super beneficial because we kind of need it to hit us and have the basically double recoil taken.
You know, it's making sure that we get to rest back up, and I think that's the big thing. And now we will be able to take it out with that next body press. We just kind of need to wakey. Wakey.
You know those crocodiles, they don't sleep very well. They're bad sleepers.
Right. Yes. Everyone knows that.
Yeah. Everybody knows that about crocodiles. They're bad sleepers.
Yes. Go on.
Early crocodile gets the bird.
I have heard that. Was that you that came up with that?
Yeah.
Wow. That's. I'd shake your hand right now if I could, but we have bigger matters in front of us. And it's a difficult spot, you know? I haven't given up hope. There is still a way out of this, but you know, this is tough. Really needed that para there. Because if we got a para, woken up, rested, that thing dies to the next Brave Bird. And we're in a pretty good spot, but I don't think Shedskin can work until after the sleep. So even if we wake up here, it really doesn't matter. And I think without Crocodile being my good pal and my good friend, I don't know if there is a way out of this, unfortunately. I don't know if there's anything on the opponent's team that Roaring Moon is able to roost up on, but I'd like to believe.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the only other thing to do would be bank on the para and go for an aggressive switch. And even in that case, it's not a great spot when your aggressive switch is probably Torkoal. Just a sticky spot to be in. And having to bank on a lot of randomness between hoping you wake up and hoping for paras or not hoping for paras depending on the situation.
Tyler, I think I'm remembering something that Coach Ben told us early on this battle to remember, and it went over my head, and I feel like we've really let the coach down. So I think I've lost my ability to wear the suit proudly. I think I need to take this off. I've really let the coach down.
Okay.
Tyler, remember when the coach got really angry and, you know, things didn't go well against the Avalugg?
Yes.
Do you remember what move the coach had gone for?
Against the Avalugg.
Yes. I have a sneaky feeling it's Roost because he left us some notes. It's bolded. It's bolded and then highlighted in a color. And we do our research for these battles to try to be ready. And it says, Tera flying with Roost does not remove flying type. Now, I just was like, oh, that's interesting to know. You know, like, oh, like, you know, maybe like, Tyler, I don't know what went through my head. I have a feeling that's why he was a little grumbly there. He knew the icicle crash was probably coming. He was just going for the old Roost, maybe. Did we let him down in that situation?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say anyone's really let anybody down. You know, we all tried our best.
Right, he tried his best in this battle, and we tried our best.
Yeah. We did the absolute, maybe not the best that we could have.
Right.
But the best that we could have tried to.
Yes. Yeah, I like that. And you know, we got another kill. Right now it's 2-2. It's not the most even 2-2 I've ever seen in my life. But it is 2-2. So that
it was
2-2. Now I'm not entirely sure I remember what happened on that Avalugg turn. I felt a need to say that, as it was bolded in our notes and highlighted in green. I've never seen anyone highlight something in bright green. Really did not want us to forget to mention that, and I have a feeling that may have been the thing.
The icicle crash turn, that was the second Dragon Dance on that turn.
Right, and maybe he had learned in that moment that he couldn't roost up as much as he wanted. Either way, the battle was lost there, and you know, hey, he made a valiant effort to come back. Sandaconda was exciting, but what's important now is to hear from the main man himself. I got some questions for him. Coach Ben, it's just me today. And I gotta start off apologizing. I said it in the commentary. You'll see it when you watch, but I failed to mention the one thing you asked me to talk about until it was too late. I swear I go through your notes. I research before these battles the best I can, but sometimes even the most bolded, highlighted thing slips through the cracks. But even though the notes say that Roost does not get rid of the flying, I'm remembering now that you didn't go for Roost on that turn, so I really want you to talk about the Avalugg and Roaring Moon situation. What was going on there? What's up with the Roost comment? I could tell that really was the game in the palm of our hands, or at least our chance to claw back. And I just like to hear a little bit more.
Yeah, so in my notes, John, I very clearly said that we can 1v1 the Avalugg as long as it is Avalanche. Now, originally when I did the build, I also had the thought process of I remove my flying typing when I roost. And then I realized in mocks with our assistant coach, John Jr., that is not the fact. It actually even clearly says on Showdown when you roost as Tera flying, you still have your flying type, which was kind of like salt in the wound. But I was just like, I was facing defensive Azumarill more than Avalugg in those mocks, so I felt like, you know, this is still a really good bring. I tank those E-speeds still. I deal with just so many things with the extra defensive bulk that I'm still like set on this Roaring Moon set, and I feel like it can do work. But I did know that if he was anything like Ice Spinner or greater in terms of ice damage, Roaring Moon wasn't going to be able to 1v1 it, just because I'm not able to roost off that damage, and I was just accepting that. So the reason I went for another Dragon Dance and not trying to roost it, it was just for the fact that if I see Avalanche come out on that second Dragon Dance instead of Icicle Crash, I can roost up, click roost multiple times. But if we saw the Icicle Crash there, I just have to go for it. Or Ice Spinner. Icicle Crash was a crazy bring on his part just because it could miss. But, I mean, after 2 DDs, as you can tell, there was a very not high chance. There was a chance that we were able to pick up the kill due to that crit with Jaw Lock immediately. So, at the very least, we were able to take out the Avalugg. But I knew we weren't going to be able to sweep anyways, just because I wasn't going to be able to, one, roost off against it, and two, extreme speed from Tera Normal Dragonite is just insane. So
I was pretty confident that situation really was the determining factor in this battle. But with what you're saying, it leads me back to this Mismagius play where I thought it was a really good beginning. It was something that we commented on, like one of our better beginnings, and everything seemed to kind of go sideways there. Can you tell me what was going through your mind? I know you were trying to figure out what prediction you wanted to make, but what made you decide to land on Shadow Ball rather than Taunt or Will-O-Wisp?
So it wasn't even really predictions at the end of the game. At the end of the day, because Uzi just got in my head, and that was really just all it came down to. It wasn't of I need to make this call right in order to do it right. I got frustrated and I just wanted to get it correct. I had a game plan and I didn't stick with it. The fact is, I made a lot of misplays early on, not just the Mismagius, which I know this question is focused around, but I'm ranting right now. Heatran could have used my extra protect. He only would have gotten Aqua Jet damage off and not liquidation damage. And Heatran would have had a lot more health to help me versus Golden Go. And I shouldn't have sacked Heatran to try and get a Flame Body on the Zapdos when I have my Kilowatt Roll as the ideal check to the Galarian Zapdos, or the best check we're even capable of having. Galarian Zapdos is a monster. So it's just a lot of misplays, like back and forth, and then the Mismagius ones are really just what cost me, because I think that was the best Pokemon in the matchup. It dealt with his walls and the offensive Pokemon he had in the back. Like, I'd be breaking multi-scale on Dragonite, Goldengo would get KO'd. It's just like, it was just so good. And I potentially get free Will-O-Wisp on Zapdos too. And I just threw it away due to aggravation. I just should have followed my game plan. If I wanted to be a little bit more aggressive and respect Uzi as soon as he saw my leftovers, I should have went for Will-O-Wisp instead of Taunt on Claude the first time. But following that, I always need to Taunt Claude. I know it's going to have Toxic in this matchup, and Mismagius not getting Toxic would have been a lot better, but I threw it away anyway, so it didn't even really matter. So, definitely didn't play my Ghost as well as I should have, considering I do thoroughly believe that was the best Pokemon in the matchup.
I only have one final thing to throw your way, and it's really based off of all of that. Every single misplay you threw out there, I was ready to explain away and figure out, you know, hey, he didn't need to go for Protect Tyler because the sun was up. I don't know, the Calcs, Heatran, what about the Flame Body? There was always a reason. You know, I believe in my coach, and I can see the vision from all of these plays, but you're telling me right now, hey, you didn't stick to that game plan. So I believe in you. I need you to believe in you, and I want to hear from you. How are we going to go into these final 2 games of the season? And how are we going to go in confidently to lock up the playoffs? Because I know you can do it. How are you going to be able to go in there with the confidence to stick to that game plan you know will see you through?
I think I just need to get out of this rut, not stay in my head, just do what I got to do. It's like completely different after week 1, too, you know, with the first original loss. It's just like, right there, I was just letting my opponent get to me, and I can't do that, because at the end of the day, I know I'm the GOAT. I'm wearing this shirt for a reason. I have Bubby on my team for a reason. Like, there's just no reason to be acting like that. And I was very confident in my build, and I think if I stuck with my build and my plan, I think I won that battle always. Banded D-Knight was extremely scary, but I feel like I at least would have had a much better chance if I just at least played decent. I think I played dog water that game. So if I just stick to what I know I'm capable of doing as an amazing coach, and as someone with a very fat ego and confidence, then I'm okay. And going into playoffs, or 2 weeks away from playoffs, we are now one of the 4 teams tied at 5-3, which is extremely scary. So these last 2 weeks are huge. We need to get at least 1 win for sure. And it's going to be tough going into next week, but we need to get that bounce back, and I will get that bounce back. Very confident we'll do it. All for Play More.